Product placement. Thank you for sponsoring.
Sponsored by Tim Hortons. So what we did was before we recorded it, but we didn't record it. So this is the first edition. What is the hype? It
gets off to a slow start, you know.
What is the hype?
A slow start. The Hype Works. It's just.
What is the Hype Works podcast?
It's just be yourself.
Be yourself.
You know, let's talk about something. A lot of people need people like Jordan Peterson. Okay, they need Jordan Peterson in their life, and that's okay for a certain period of time. But he shouldn't be your messiah. And I think some people almost hold Jordan Peterson up to like an almost religious standard. And to be quite honest with you, he's like not the same person that he was. Conor McGregor, there's another guy. These people are people that have been, at the time, probably people that the world needed. For that moment in time, they were. And they've done and achieved so many amazing things. But now the legacy is kind of wearing thin.
Right.
You know, Conor McGregor is never going to win the UFC, and Jordan Peterson is never going to go back to being a professor in the same way he was before.
So, are we ever going to go back to being in-house in the same vein?
No.
So here we are. This is what we're doing.
You know, no. Obviously, I think that it's necessary that people do that. And people will do that with us in the future. We'll have our own space, but our own space will pertain towards the values of the Hype Works, which is a culture that we will co-create together. That's what the Hype Works is.
What is the Hype Works, Jake? Like, what are we talking about here?
That is what it is. It's a set of ideals and values and principles, but they're driven via the engine of the market, which is our skill set that we effectively sell a set of services to Chinese clients, and we'll do the best job that we can. And that's what makes us unique. And that's why we'll get repeat purchases, because we're special in that sense. We're not special as people. We're just exploiting and leveraging and compounding the knowledge and the network that we have.
Yeah.
That's the Hype Works. All are welcome to join the train. If you want to get on this train, you're welcome. But it's a rocket ship, and you've got to be prepared to hang on.
Hypeworks.com in the description, and the coldfacemanifesto.com. People can read more those two URLs. First thing we're going to talk about today, we talked about already, emojis. Why are they like the universal language?
Well, there's a whole story behind why I think they're a ubiquitous language. And I was thinking about this more last night as well, actually. You know, custom emojis and GIFs are also like, if emojis were emoji 1.0, GIFs and custom emojis are emoji 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. So I think it's like they can express without like verbal written language. And I think that in itself, that expression is a language. And we said when I was talking with some people about this, shout out to Kieran when you're watching. But before there was emojis, there was books, and books are a form of communication. And before books, there was, you know, body language. And then before body language, there was the subconscious means of communication, which was vibe. That sometimes people just give off an energy, and you can feel it. And in a way, that's also a language that we all as humans share throughout the world. We may have different gestures for different things, like Chinese, obviously. You know that. That doesn't mean the same thing in the US. But someone's demeanor. Yeah, they do that. They're like, yo, that's sick, bro. They're like that. But the demeanor that people have is also a communication, because it communicates what they are consciously thinking, in a subconscious way. They don't think, oh, I need to move my hand, which is going to be the copy of what is going on upstairs, like when you see a bit of a crazy person and they're coming and you go, whoa, you sense the danger.
Yeah. And so basically we've always had emojis in some form, but it's only like when we got the web that we got the actual emoji stickers that we can send in the chat. Do you think emojis are going to like continue? Like, will the emoji thing keep going? Will it become the universal language?
Well, it's like everything. It has a development life cycle. It changes. It starts out as one thing and it evolves. And in its evolution, it might evolve in two different ways. We've already alluded to custom emojis and GIFs. They're not the same, but they sprung from the idea of the emoji. They're the evolution of the emoji already.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think, are you using more or less emojis these days?
More.
100%.
Yeah. Because I recognize that other people rely on them for like a non-verbal cue. And as you would if I went, do you think I'm serious? Or I leaned in and went, do you think I'm serious? You would take that in two very different ways. And the way that the emoji can express that nuance digitally. Language is, in a way, a structured means of communication. And emojis provide a framework.
And you think the emoji stuff will keep going with the metaverse? Like, they'll become part of that if that happens?
They'll evolve into... I'm sure. I think emojis, as we know them today, in some regards, are going to be around like memes. People are already making cushions out of them, printing them on T-shirts. Every social media platform.
Yeah, and I think everyone's got their own emoji, right? Like, for us, like, I feel like the crocodile is the perfect emoji for us.
Nah.
I don't know why.
Tiger.
It's just like fast, and
tiger.
This is what we're trying to do, right? Like
the tiger. The tiger's my favorite emoji. That's my favorite emoji.
Yeah.
That I never use. It's my favorite emoji
I've never seen you use it.
I've never. I sometimes use it, but seldom. I
think the one I use the most is the sigh. The sigh emoji, the eyes down. Like.
Why? I use the laughing ones loads. I still write lol. And
then you convert to the laughing emoji, right?
Well, I still write lol.
The cool one of the sigh one is like, it's also like, I understand, but it's also like sarcastic. Like, it's kind of like, I think it fits my, I know, like, kind of behavior, like my style.
Yeah, but do you want to be sighing all the time?
No, but I know, just the one I use the most.
Happier ones. Use the happier ones. I don't think I would even use an angry emoji if I was angry, to be honest.
Don't think I've ever used one. Can't remember.
I've definitely used them before, but...
Use an angry one?
Yeah.
I can't remember using one.
Definitely use an angry
one. All good. No, next thing we're going to talk about is... we got a reminder this week with the Champions League. We saw our old company, Oppo, advertising boards all around the stadium. What's the state of advertising? Does advertising work? Big sports advertising, arenas, like we're seeing all the crypto companies, they went big into advertising, renaming stadiums. Now they're all kind of laying off people. Like, we experienced this ourselves. Like, we were part of this. Like, what do you think of like big brand advertising and these kind of things?
It works. It works because it increases the exposure to the brand. It forms that memory in the brain.
Muscle memory.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't say muscle memory. I'd say that's a terminology someone coined.
I know. I just like saying that.
But I'd say more neurogenesis. The formation of the neurons in the brain. The exposure. It's like a memory that you flash that circuit.
Man, the argument is like everyone says this over and over again. Like, who remembers like who advertised at what sporting event like 10 years ago, right? It's hard to recall, you know.
Again, it's like saying, "Oh, you didn't see the subliminal messaging. You're not meant to. You're not really meant to go. Oh, cool. It says Oppo there. No one cares. It just you read them anyway, and it's like the flash of exposure. You remember it.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, I'm flying to Bangkok. We're going to hang out in Bangkok. I'm going to be in the airport. I'm going to be exposed to all of these banks, and I'm walking with my luggage. I see all these ads. Is that going to affect my brand preferences? Like which bank I'm going to bank at, or what, what whiskey I'm going to drink? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it will. 100%. It will influence your choice. You will think, this brand is more credible than these other brands. I've seen them. I recognize them. I know that other people will know this brand as well. Therefore, I'm more likely to consider it as a purchase option.
Do you not think like these brands are like we're Hypeworks, right? We're talking about like hype, and all these brands like Tesla, Amazon, like they don't do advertising on that scale. Do you not think like they're more effective in terms of like ROI and all that kind of brand equity than these guys like throwing money at big advertising stuff?
Well, there's still a place for traditional advertising, but also, a theory that I've always maintained, and I've written about it, you can find it on my website, is that you can't be everything to everyone, and the channels of which you choose to advertise also say something about your brand.
Yeah, they do.
If you like, I always use the case of Red Bull. Okay, Red Bull couldn't afford to get on the supermarket shelves in Austria at the time. So it went to the local corner shops, but that kind of matches the vibe. And from there, it became kind of underground, and they didn't go mainstream until they grew to such a size. They're a challenger brand.
Yeah, so it really a lot of it depends
Tesla
on your.
is a challenger brand.
Yeah, it depends on your company, right? Where you're at.
Well, yeah, but it also depends on like how you started. They don't start in traditional media because they're innovators. They're not traditional companies. They couldn't afford to grow with traditional advertising print. I mean, sometimes they might do it now. Sometimes maybe some. Or they'll make statements in other ways, like they'll build glass showrooms on the top of skyscrapers. Who knows?
And what's the future of like advertising, like big advertising, brand advertising?
The hype works, obviously.
No, but is it digital? Is it like, is there still a place for the billboards and all that stuff?
Yeah, there's still a place for it. And people can also use the billboards in creative ways in the future. That's the situation. It's like, it's not about the channel, it's also about how you use the channel as well. The way means and methods of marketing are so diverse these days. Everybody needs their own style. If you don't have your own style, you don't have a memorable brand. I could tell you the style of where these Gucci's and Burberry's advertise around expensive malls. They don't really advertise. They just have shop placements. They might have advertising in airports if they have it in airports, because traveling via airport is a luxury.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Come on, Alex, you got to get fired up. I swear you're not as chatty as you were last.
I think personally, me, like I prefer I think I prefer the Tesla and the Amazon like no ads approach. I just like that's my style, but that's not everyone's style. Like some people, they like ads. People like ads,
You know what I
If there's
really
good ads,
like?
people like it. What?
Paper flyering. I know it's bad for the environment,
Paper paper
but
flying, yeah.
I like flyers. I don't know whether it's
Mm.
because when I was, doing the nightclubs, we were all about flyers and who could get flyers in ludicrous places as well. Like, I guess that was our style that we'd put like we put them everywhere, dude. We'd put them on the backs of toilet doors. We'd put them everywhere. Like, that was the guerrilla marketing back in the day, putting flyers in just nuts places. I remember
To
that
be fair, like when I walk around, yeah. Sorry, go on.
one time that we did it for the festival that they were having in York. I was a collab partner of this festival, and we helped with the
Mm.
marketing of it. Okay, weren't
Mm.
investing in it, but there was a few things that we had going on. We helped, and you anyway. Long story short, we did it so good one time. We put so many of these like illegal posters up that it hit the local newspaper. Obviously, everyone was happy because it was
Mm.
free awareness.
Mm. Do you think mm, I was gonna say, like, do you think it lends itself to like a particular type of product or service?
Just brands that have come to change the way things are done. They have to find
Mm.
different means because they have to stand out.
Mm.
If you don't have your own style, you've got all these traditional new medias. I mean, we knew that the Gucci's and the Burberrys were going to be the first to get into NFTs if they thought there was any value in it.
Mm.
Not H&M, though they probably have as they've
Yeah,
tried to as well. But
I think they have. Yeah, they
Tiffany
did. They did one.
with the punks. Punks are a very valuable NFT these days.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see when the marketing budgets are being cut. Are brands going to cut back on that stuff? You'd think so. Don't know.
No, they'll just
We'll
find
find out.
different ways. That's the thing.
Mm.
That SK2 makeup one for them girls. I've
Uh,
never seen so many people in a room crying off an advert in my life. And I have to be honest, I was slightly moved by it. It was incredibly touching. You could be from anywhere in the world, and as long as you
mm.
understand what's going on there, which it introduces in the advert, you would be moved too. So I can't remember the name of it, but wow, I'm sure that advert
I
sold
know
a
the one
lot
you're
of
talking about. I
makeup.
remember it.
I'm sure of it. When they showed that in that meeting that we had at Oppo, um, I'm going to be shamed for this, but not remembering the name of the Swedish agency that produced it, but that was some phenomenal work.
Yeah.
I preferred
Yeah.
that to
No,
the
I
Volvo
do think.
stuff,
Yeah.
and the Volvo
No,
stuff
I
was
do think it's going to
awesome as
be
well. I don't think that Van Damme was the height of the Volvo stuff. Everyone goes, "Oh, Van Damme was the best one." No, it wasn't. There was loads before it that I actually preferred to the Van Damme one. It was getting old at the point of Van Damme, and Van Damme, do you know what I mean? Doesn't
Yeah.
do anything for me.
Where do you think it fits in terms of like the like say you're a startup company and you've got marketing budget and you're doing a campaign, like where do you think it fits in?
What is the go? I've lost you there completely. I lost you for like 10 seconds again.
Where does the advertising fit in terms of like the marketing campaign today? Like for the average company, startup company.
My internet seems very fast.
Mate, are you there?
Mate, it's cutting in and out. It's got to be
Yeah,
you. It's not
it's
me.
not me, mate. I've got Google Fiber here, fucking fast. No, I was just
It
saying,
is shite.
where does it fit in, like in the marketing campaign for the average company? You're running a marketing
What do you
campaign,
mean?
like where does ads fit in? You know?
Well, it fits into what, the way I see it is you've got to have, I mean, there's always that debate, okay? And I've been told by Google and Gregor, former CMO, uh, I've been told by him, oh, you should plan the media first. I don't agree. I think that you should plan the media budget first, and the media budget
Mm-hmm.
should be planned, in terms of how you're going to spend it, but only after when you've got the big creative idea. Forget the rest. Okay, forget all the little things. The creative and the media team really need to work close together.
Mm-hmm.
Really. And in a way that people don't understand. People don't get that right. And I mean that from everything. I mean that at Oppo corporate level, and I mean that down at the ground level and above
Mm.
Oppo as well. So
Yeah.
it's
No,
whatever you
it's
make of it.
hmm. Switching topics, mate. You're just back from Vietnam. Um, you had a
Love
good
that
time.
place. Shout out. Really
Ho Chi
love
Minh.
Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh.
Good place. Favorite kind of things about Vietnam?
Just the vibe.
Right.
Just the vibe. The people, the sound, the people I've met are sound, the experiences, just the vibe, the pace of life, the food. Really
Food's tremendous.
appreciate Vietnam. The food is better in Ho Chi Minh than Bangkok, no doubt, at every level as well. It tastes better, it's better value, seems better to me.
Mm. Vietnam is apparently the next big thing, and the topic is why, like, no, not why, like, companies are moving stuff out of China, manufacturing.
Right?
Places like Vietnam are going to benefit. Do you think, you've been in Vietnam quite a bit of late? Do you think Vietnam can be, you know, the next big manufacturing hub?
Yes. And I think that that's been proven
Can
by
Vietnam and developing countries like make brands? Can they produce brands?
any country can produce a brand. And shout out to Highland
Mm.
Coffee or Highlands Coffee. I mean, that's a great brand of coffee.
Get sponsored by
It is. It's a great brand of coffee. I mean, I remember
Why
going
is
there
that
in
great brand? Just the product.
2016, and I go there now, and it's just as good as it was in 2016. It's slightly more
Mm.
expensive than a regular Vietnamese
Mm.
coffee shop. And yes, it is like Starbucks, but
Mm.
for what they provide a good table. I don't think there's even
Mm.
loud music, if there's any music there. It's clean, it's
Mm.
organized, it's efficient. And what's the Vietnamese
Mm.
coffee called? A Phin Sao Da, right? Get one of them, sit there. It's lovely.
Um,
But
because
honestly,
like for a
I've
long
just got
time,
to
like,
interject 1 second. But shout out to all the
uh,
small Vietnamese coffee business as well, because I've been in them, and they're also even more exquisite. But for somewhere where I can just pop down, open a
mm.
laptop, and leave, Highlands Coffee is the one.
Mm.
But it's not the best.
You
Shout out
see,
to all the small people.
there,
But Highland Coffee is the best for
I
the
think
mainstream.
there's yeah, and you mentioned Starbucks. Like, there's this long held perception that American and European brands, like, they're basically eternal. Like, they can't be beat by developing countries like China, like
It's
Vietnam,
bullshit.
because they just have the cultural sway. Europeans luxury, America's tech. Like, we've worked in Asia for a number of years. Like we've kind of seen good products, but we haven't seen always that product turn into like a great brand. So then
Well, there's
that's the argument,
various
right?
reasons for that, isn't there? Because it's not like Nike. Let's take Nike, okay? Nike, as we would say. where we're from, Alex. If you take a brand like Nike, it's not like they're just great all over the world. It's that the story behind that brand is effectively shared. It's a shared human value. That's what they tap into. Resilience, endeavor, performance. You know, they're aspiring qualities. And to be quite honest, they have a monopoly in many different sports, the way that they sponsor athletes.
So essentially Asian brands can copy that. They can, or African brands or whoever, like they can download
issue in
that.
The word,
that
there's an issue in the semantics there. Copy. The problem is that they copy. They don't create anything new. But people that create new things, like shout out Highlands Cafe, it's still a new thing. It's a new style of coffee shop. Starbucks didn't invent the coffee shop.
Nope.
So
right.
That's how
so
it is.
Basically what you're saying is like these brands like in Asia, like, or wherever, like if you're building a brand, like you've got to have your own values and, you know, do it your way, basically.
You've got to do it your way, as Frank Sinatra said.
And you think Asian brands like Vietnam, they can make cool stuff. They can become like part of the.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but I mean, not just in the country, but like in our country, in the UK, or they can actually, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Look at Korea. It's blowing up. Their fashion, their music, their films, their television.
I agree. But in Asia, they're quite, you know, Japan and Korea, like they've had most of the success historically in terms of like manufacturing and making brands. Not many countries aside from that have done it. So you think like in time there will be more, like in China and Vietnam and.
Of course, but tell me a big brand that came from Portugal.
Oh, damn, you put me on the spot now.
Do you see my point? But, you know, Portugal in some ways is an interesting one because it was also a colonial power in the same way that the Dutch and the British were. But I could tell you Dutch multinational business. That might be one that actually you can Google.
That one, yeah.
Comment below.
Yeah. But exactly. You're basically quite confident in Vietnam. You're in Thailand right now. You think a lot of potential for these guys to, you know.
Well, I think Thailand, you know, it's a global recession right now. I think Thailand is slowing down a little bit. I think the introduction of the cannabis industry into Thailand has changed the game, to be quite honest. They're having almost like a mini economic boom. When it was first legalized, there was maybe like 3-4 shops in the whole of Bangkok. It's been 2 months. There's literally one on every street.
Yeah.
You know, illegal and legal. And there's Instagram pages advertising it to you. Like, that is an industry right now. Massive industry. It'll be interesting to see where it is in like 3, 4, 5 years, because it's a sort of legislation that once it's in place, it won't be overturned. It's a big step.
And going back to our former home, China, like what do you think the future is for, as we're talking about a lot of brands, MNCs, they're moving manufacturing away from China. Obviously all the things are going on there right now. Do you think there's a lot of kind of hope for their brands and their companies? And you work for Alibaba, not doing so great right now. We work for a bunch of companies there.
I mean, again, you know, with regards to the Alibaba thing, Jack, if you're listening, the managers that are in place there don't know how to innovate in the same way as they did in the early days. Maybe there's not as many gaps in the market, and for your business to keep on growing, you need to find people that are going to innovate in the times. But everybody there is pretty much stuck in their own way of doing things. And recently, with all the layoffs and the traditional culture of Chinese companies, who do you think stayed? It's the same people. It's not the young guns. They didn't go, right, let's get rid of the old people. We need to innovate. They went, right, let's keep, old people know old people. So they're safe. That's how those corporations get old and slow and die, to be honest. And I don't think Alibaba will die, because I think that in the market that it exists in, it's so huge. But it might scale down.
Yeah.
Potential to scale down.
But
it's huge.
They've been super clever, right? They've been investing a lot in Southeast Asia, like Lazada. They've been buying brands. So they're indirectly benefiting from the rise of others, in that way.
True.
Yeah.
True. Alipay is also something that is used in Hong Kong, Thailand, but Ant Financial, basically, extension of the big dogs, the big cheeses at the top that basically can access whatever they want from that company. So, everybody should know that. If they don't, if you use Alipay, the powers that be from China will be spying on you. There's no doubt about it. But the same is true from how Facebook, you've got Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp on your phone. They see everything. Maybe the corporation is no different from the government or the state in that sense. I'm no more scared of the state than I am a corporate entity these days. That's how much power businesses have.
Yeah. So we're talking about companies moving out of countries, like Apple, for example. They're almost bigger in a lot of countries, right? They've got so much money and power, they can just move production from Vietnam to somewhere else, So it's like a sovereign thing, these big companies.
Well, they're going to go where the education is at a level for the type of job that they need to do, and they'll go where it's cheapest. So they'll take up, okay, well, what's the educational attainment level within this population, within this country? Okay, we'll move our factory right there because it matches what we want to pay with the educational background.
And same in services, right? Google, they have 3,000 people in Singapore. It's their headquarters in Asia, because you've got all these Singapore unis churning out math geniuses, right?
Well, I've met a lot of people from Singapore recently, and I have to say though, you might think, oh, math geniuses and wow, big buildings, but I think kind of a factory. Singapore is a factory. It's a clever factory. Don't get me wrong. People are smart. But it is a system of producing smart people to enhance the economy. But it doesn't mean that everybody's happy, and it doesn't mean that the values of that society are values that align with my own. Nor does it mean that the values of that society align with some of the people that live there.
Yeah.
The same is true of anywhere in the world, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But in different ways, to different extents, about different subject matter.
What's what kind of country are you bullish on right now?
Vietnam. Vietnam.
Aside from Vietnam.
India. India, Vietnam and India. Two places that I still like India. I went to India. I watched Slumdog Millionaire though on the first 40 minutes of it on the plane. Don't spoil the ending for me. But I can predict what's going to happen. I can predict it's not going to have a happy ending. I can already see it coming.
Yeah. Be careful with it.
I'm only 40 minutes in, and I get the gist of everything that's happened so far. It's about how...
Yeah, that guy disappeared, that Dev Patel guy. He didn't really do any more movies after that. I don't remember.
Maybe he didn't need to. Maybe he was a Slumdog Millionaire.
The girl, Frida Pinto, same. Didn't see her.
Again. I honestly, mate, I have no idea. I've watched 30 minutes of the film. I'm still at the point where he's a little kid and he's running around with his brother. Do you know what I mean? So
We need to go back to India
yeah, we
at some
do.
point.
We need to go and set the hype works up in India.
We do.
We do.
We do.
We do.
Final topic I've got, mate. Podcast. We're doing a podcast. This is the first one. We want to do many. You've been kind of, you've had some thoughts on podcasts lately. Like, what's your kind of thoughts right now?
Well,
Medium.
as I've maintained, which I don't know if this is the right answer to the question, but I think that the thing with the podcast, and I think also was exposed by Andrew Tate. Not a fan, but respect Andrew Tate and his values and his principles. Don't necessarily share all of them, but at least he's authentic. At least he actually is that. Then I can make a decision about what I think about him. And I don't think all bad about him, and I certainly don't think all good about him. But what he exposes is, if you're willing to be yourself, then the content is something that people want to listen or watch. You know, they want to listen to it or they want to watch it. Why? Because they're sick of all the fakery.
Right.
I think that's part
true.
of the thing. It's like...
Yeah, and for example, Joe Rogan just interviewed Zuckerberg, right? Facebook.
Didn't watch it.
I've only watched a little bit, and basically, in no uncertain terms, like, he basically said the Quest VR stuff was shit. And Zach didn't know where to look, right? He was like, kind of fake laugh. I suppose it's kind of like you say, like, it's...
Well, that's just Joe Rogan's opinion, though, right? Why does Joe Rogan think the Quest is shit?
I don't know. I think he tried it, or obviously...
I mean, what was Joe Rogan's expectation of what the technology should be? Because I don't think there's anything better available to the mass market. So what's Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan should be picking up and go, whoa, this is the cutting edge of technology. I want this to be better. But he can't go, it's rubbish, surely.
But that's the thing, like, to be fair, podcast does capture a lot of these kind of things, because there's no one to edit out, right? It's like, it's Joe's podcast. It's not Mark Zuckerberg's.
Aren't you going to edit out when I went and got my coffee? If
you like, but the main point is, like, it's his podcast. It's not Zuckerberg. So whatever he says goes, It's like us here. Like, whatever we say here is ours. It's not something people can...
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like... Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to make the time to make an apology that we will have to have some editing caused by our poor setup. So I don't know what we're going to do there, Alex, because the first time we nailed it, and this one has been broken up by internets going on and off, and the delivery of our sponsor, Tim, Mr. Hortons.
Highland Coffee or Tim Hortons. We can't have both. You got to choose one coffee sponsor.
Oh, Tim's. If we had to choose Highlands.
For
2 reasons, Alex. Firstly, it's great tasting Vietnamese coffee, and secondly, it reminds me of my favourite place on earth, the Scottish Highlands.
The Highlands of Vietnam.
Nah, the Highlands of Scotland.
Is there such a thing as Highlands of Vietnam?
You take the low road. Okay. Go on, mate. You take the low road.
I don't know the words, mate.
You know it, right?
Yeah, I know.
You don't know that song?
I know that song.
Yeah, of course you know it. It's a Scottish ballad, isn't it? It's a Scottish ballad.
No, my train of thought is... I think what happened was Joe Rogan exploded, and everyone thought, "Oh, this is the next big thing." And Clubhouse, the app, exploded, and all of these things exploded, and then people became real, right? Like, this is not going to take over video. It's not going to, it's not going to take over, like, a lot of the main content forms, right? It's going to be big, but not that big, you know?
Well, I think that a lot of people jump on the podcast thing because they want to be popular. But in reality, and in all fairness to Joe Rogan, he truly loved it and he took it seriously from day one.
He did, yeah.
You know, he had a setup that was standard. Like, you know, he didn't get internet issues because he wasn't doing this virtually like us, but he took it so seriously. You know, he had like a half decent mic. It wasn't just recorded on his laptop. It was long form. He started to have different guests. Like, he always took it seriously.
Yeah. He treated it like a business, right?
He didn't just start it as like a joke. Yeah, he treated it seriously from the day one. So he had a podcast, but his podcast was the most professional at the time.
Yeah. What's your current favorite podcast?
Don't really listen to many anymore. They've all kind of, the thing is, it's like they all talk more or less about the same subject matters these days, which is global politics and global economics. That's it.
A lot of anger, right? A lot of intent, like an anger and stuff.
Yeah, it's depressing. It's depressing. Yeah. And everyone's saying the same thing. Everyone's polarized. You know, like there's certain groups and business interest in media, and I can't listen to it. Tired of that.
I still like Lex. I like Lex Friedman. It's just
I like him.
It's good listening. Background listening. Yeah.
I think
he's getting good guests as well. And good guests.
Yeah. I don't think I think. Yeah, but again, I don't really watch them. I'll listen to clips. You know, I'm a big fan of listening to like spa music at the moment. It's like when I wake up, before I go to sleep.
That's because you're getting massages, right? You hear the music.
It's because I find it relaxing. I don't want anything like before, and I'm sure you're guilty, as are many dudes around the world. They'll put on a podcast to fill their headspace. And I started to feel that that's kind of unhealthy, that you need some sort of stimulation, whether you're taking a shower, waking up, or anything. So
Go back. Headspace. You mean like boredom or like lack of...
Clarity of thought. It's like people want the stimulation to be thinking about something, when it's actually really difficult to try and not think about anything. But it's a good space to get into, which is to try and not necessarily, it's to manage your thoughts one by one. And again, I'm not talking in the sense of meditation because I don't really meditate. But I did go to the gym without my phone, and I didn't listen to any music. I just did a 30-minute workout, and it was nice. And I'll go to the sauna, and I'll do the same in the sauna. People use social media to fill their time, even when they're busy doing other things. People will watch TV shows and try and do work. I think girls are probably better at that than guys, to be honest, because girls can generally do two things at once. But we cannot. We cannot work and listen to a podcast. It's impossible.
Nah, you can't. No, I can't.
I tried it, you know, but if I put some spa music on, or if I'm writing something, I have to have silence. If I'm writing, if I'm doing a task, I can have music. But writing, can't do with music on. Like when you were talking, when we were building that presentation, I was like, mate, 1 second. Okay, I finished.
But if you had to rank like podcasts in terms of lesser evil than other forms of content, like where would it rank?
Well, it's more a case of who's
usefulness. Like,
well, you know,
I mean, people say TikTok is just like a brain drain for all these people. You know, they're wasting time.
It's because it grabs your attention. A podcast at this level is just a conversation. It's whether or not people are going to be interested in our conversation. And our conversation implicitly has a set of values tied into it. And we're emitting those values. And when people listen to us, they'll either internalize some of that value or reject it. If they reject it, they'll never watch this podcast again. If their values are more or less starting to align, they don't have to agree with everything, then they might find it interesting. They might have curiosity to listen more. So really, it depends. Like, that's the thing about Joe Rogan. I'm sure that people that have figured out who Joe Rogan are and, the likes of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, these kind of people, if they figured those people out in the last 2 years, they've only just got onto that, then they're off the pace because the world has moved on. The world has moved on. I don't really listen to Joe Rogan. I know Joe Rogan's thoughts and opinions. I have no interest, to be honest. Or even whatever he asks Mark Zuckerberg, it's not going to affect me in my day-to-day life. Zuckerberg's going to be careful about what he says on that platform anyway. It's just PR.
Yeah, I mean, he's going on there for PR, like to boost his image and boost Facebook and stuff.
Same with Elon Musk.
Yeah, he does a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, because he's somebody that he really is like a bit of a people's champion by comparison.
What did you think of the one? Did you see the Full Send one? Yeah.
Well, here's another thing, and I think we said this last time. We do not want to be like Full Send. They're immature in many ways, to be quite honest. They don't treat situations sometimes with enough respect, and I don't know whether that's out of ignorance or I hope it's out of ignorance, which is why I respect them and I listen to them. But I do think they should try and elevate their game a little bit to spread the more positive way of doing things. I've seen some of the controversies they've got into around MMA, saying things. It's disrespectful to these people.
Yeah. But that's how they started, though, right? They were YouTubers that made prank videos.
And again, I think that's disrespectful as well. Like, I think putting people in situations without knowing anything about what they may have been through, what they're going through. Yeah, it might be good for a quick laugh, but you might do that to a Vietnam War veteran, and he'll have an episode three days later.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Yeah, and the mask one, they didn't really do their homework. They didn't know anything about the guy.
No, not really. Yeah, it was embarrassing. But again, like, if people tune into it, that reflects the values of where people are at today, which is why I'm not really bothered about listening to it. When the next big thing that I want to listen to comes along, I'll be listening to it.
That's what I do as well. I just pick and choose. Like, if it's something that interests me, whoever it is, I'll listen to it. I've not got, some people are religious, like they will listen to every episode of a podcast on the commute or whatever. That's fine. I think most people are like us, like just pick and choose.
Well, there has been times in my life where I was definitely like, look, I'm not going to deny it. Okay, may as well say this. It's the hype works. In 2016-17, when a friend of mine who was a female introduced me to Jordan Peterson through the Kathy Newman interview. And,
that's classic.
And, he really put forth his argument in such an intelligent way that I went and looked at his YouTube channel and started watching his lectures. And I did watch his lectures almost religiously.
Is that the ones in Toronto when he was still professor?
Yeah, the academic lectures. But he's changed a lot since then. As we've talked about before, actually, like his fame has changed him.
Yeah. And
did you check that meme, by the way?
Which one?
The "wash your penis" meme about Jordan.
I have not checked that yet. I will check.
You have to Google it. If people aren't, just Google it.
Yeah. So this podcast, I hope we can add some value, like of some kind, like these stories, these topics. That's
hope
what we
we
want
can
to do,
get
right?
the editing right, and we promise that the next one will be better. But we're going to have to start building an archive up somewhere, and this can be the one that people might look back on in 2 years and go, "Wow, didn't their editing improve?"
No, I think it's good. I think there's a lot of marketing podcasts out there, but this is like our own perspective, so we can try and layer that on
Well,
top.
I guess what we're effectively trying to do here is we're trying to build a podcast that has a unique voice, and maybe we won't always hit on a subject that people care about. This one is not going to do numbers. It's not. But maybe
There's the best of it, doom and gloom. Come on.
No, but maybe one day we'll say something that will resonate with some people. You never know. We don't know where it's going to go, but we're setting off on the journey.
Yeah, that you said it. There's journey, and this is a good way to document the journey. It's a good archive, and we want to get some guests. I think at some point, right?
What, you mean do this physically? Fly in?
No, we want to get guests. We want to get guests. Who's your if you could get anyone in the world to be guest on your podcast? Who are you going to pick?
I'll tell you who. I'll tell you. I've got a friend.
Tim Pitch?
No, I'm going to shout him out right now.
No.
Sorry.
Poor Tim, you just
recently. Names recently. No. I want to shout out Saeed. I want to shout out that guy. Really. Australian.
Tell us about Saeed. Who's Saeed?
I can't remember too much now. I met him in Ho Chi Minh. The guy runs a Facebook. He runs an agency. They mostly did websites, but he's a smart guy, and he's innovating in that space, and he's got a really interesting story. So shout out Saeed.
Nice.
I hope I pronounced his name right. But yeah, we should get that guy on. Really, one of the most interesting dudes I've met in a long time. Huh?
I'm trying to think who I would get on. Not Meghan Markle. Not Meghan.
I would be off on that episode. I wouldn't be on that episode.
I would do a comedian. I would get a comedian because I think they're really interesting to talk to. Someone like Ricky Gervais or something.
Nah, Joe Rogan's done the comedians. I'd get an engineer. I'd rather get my brother on. Do you know what I mean? I'd get something completely different. That's why people like Lex Friedman. He gets like scientists. You know, he recognized Joe Rogan was doing well off the scientist. He's a scientist or a mathematician at least. So he gets those people on. He gets engineers on.
Yeah. Let's work on getting our first guest. And
we could have a few, bro. We could have many.
I think we could. Good.
We know many interesting people. The world is also full of interesting people.
Any further thoughts on this first episode? Historical first episode.
The editing needs to be on point because there's been a few moments during this conversation that need to be adjusted for the reasons of coffee and poor internet connection. But apart from that, no.
We might do the second episode from Bangkok in person. 2 weeks.
You can't say that now. Timbo's going to watch this.
No, but Tim was not going to watch this. We'll keep this secret from Tim. We'll edit this out. We'll edit that part. But anyway, no, we'll do the second episode, and we'll try and keep this going. Are we doing monthly or are we doing bi-weekly? Monthly.
Bi-weekly. Until we get something that hits. This one's not going to go off. This is just going to be a stock infiller.